The woman's heart-wrenching screams shattered the stillness of the early morning. The nightmare town was struck by despair once again. A body bag hung high from a billboard, and the drops of blood falling from it hit everyone's nerves like heavy blows. This was the most brutal warning the bloodthirsty demons could deliver to the residents. Welcome back to the latest episode of From. The story picks up right where the last episode ended. The humanoid creature, disguised as Sophia, has successfully infiltrated the town and killed the only person who knew the truth. With that, her identity is now flawless. When Deputy Sheriff Kenny wakes up, he's shocked to find Sophia missing. Turning his head, he sees the clinic door wide open. He rushes outside and spots Sophia standing near the entrance, looking lost and confused. In the distance, several creatures begin to emerge from the darkness. Kenny quickly pulls her back inside. After hanging up the talisman, he's about to scold her, but Sophia speaks first.
My father died.
With that devastated expression, anyone would believe she's just a helpless girl who has lost her father. Meanwhile, Sheriff Boyd has been sitting in the communal house all night. When he sees Elgin wrapped in bandages, he decides it's time to have a serious talk. People in town will inevitably question how Elgin got injured. Boyd orders him to lie. He must say the injuries came from protecting Fatima. Otherwise, Boyd won't hesitate to expose the truth about him killing the old woman, or even lock him in a cage and leave him face to face with the monsters. After enduring inhumane torture, Elgin is far more subdued than before. Faced with Boyd's threat, he can only nod repeatedly. Boyd lets out a long sigh. To maintain order in the town, he's willing to use one lie to cover up another crime. Because once fear spreads, human hearts can become far more terrifying than the creatures lurking in the night. But the moment Boyd steps out of the house, he's confronted with a horrifying sight. A blood-soaked body bag hangs high from a billboard. A crowd is gathered nearby, yet no one dares to approach. Tabitha stands off to the side, her legs trembling with fear. Her husband Jim never came back last night, and now there's a body bag hanging outside this morning. Anyone can guess what's inside. Summoning what little strength she has left, Tabitha stops Ethan from getting closer. She's terrified that what comes next will leave a lifelong scar on her son. Julie, on the other hand, seems to have grown up overnight. Though she's just as shaken inside, she manages to coax and pull her younger brother away from the scene. Tabitha takes a deep breath and asks Boyd to lower the bag carefully. Then she drops to her knees, praying for a miracle. As the bag is slowly brought down, everyone's heart is in their throat. She stops Boyd from opening it. No matter what's inside, whether it's Jim or not, she needs to be the one to confirm it first. She carefully unties the knot. The moment the bag opens, the crowd lets out a collective sigh of relief. It's nothing but pieces of goat meat. But before anyone can process it, Julie's scream echoes from not far away. Tabitha's heart sinks. She rushes over, only to see Julie and Ethan clinging tightly to each other, while Jim's body hangs inside the barn. Tabitha collapses on the spot, breaking down in uncontrollable grief. But Boyd notices something else, a line of words left behind near the body. Knowledge comes at a cost. He frowns, certain this is a message from the creatures, yet unable to fully grasp its meaning. With the help of Jade, they take Jim's body down and place it onto a cart. As they move through the road, the townspeople stand silently on both sides. Maybe they've already grown numb to the endless bloodshed in this place. Together, they carry the body into the church, planning to clean it up and hold a memorial later. Throughout the entire process, Jade says nothing, clearly lost in thought. After a long silence, he finally speaks his mind. He recalls what happened before, when he and Tabitha stood beneath the bottle tree deep in the forest, using music to summon the spirits of 7 children. In that moment, both of them awakened buried memories and briefly touched the core truth of this world. And their purpose, all along, has been to free the souls of those trapped children. To Jade, the message, knowledge comes at a cost, is nothing more than a warning from the creatures, a response to their attempt at uncovering the truth. Boyd agrees with him. The more violently the creatures strike back, the more it proves that Jade is on the right path. He urges him to keep going. Maybe this time, they can finally complete what they started. Encouraged, Jade immediately goes to find Tabitha, hoping she can regain her courage and continue the mission with him. But Tabitha has already changed. To her, Jim's death is the price they paid for digging too deep. She fears that if this continues, her children will become the next targets of the creature's retaliation. When Jay tries to persuade her again, Tabitha snaps. Her tone turns sharp and mocking. She calls him a selfish loner, someone with nothing to lose, free to chase whatever he wants. It's clear now. The partnership that once stood at the center of uncovering the truth is on the verge of falling apart. Jim's death continues to ripple through the town. His young son, Ethan, simply cannot accept the loss, and he places all the blame on this hopeless place. Julie, on the other hand, chooses a far more extreme path. She remembers the story Ethan once mentioned, the story walker, a power that allows someone to move through time. Julie becomes obsessed with the idea that if she can go back, she might be able to save her father and stop the tragedy from ever happening. For this reckless plan, she seeks out Randall, the most rebellious troublemaker in town. The two of them have explored the ruins together before, and now Julie wants him to join her once again. Meanwhile, Sophia continues putting on her act, crying and playing the part of a helpless girl. Deputy Kenny is completely taken in, his protective instincts kicking in without hesitation. When he notices her glasses are cracked, he even offers to help her find a new pair.
I'd like that very much, thank you.
Just as the two step out of the clinic, they run into Sarah standing by the roadside. She brings the news of Jim's death. Realizing the situation, Kenny decides he needs to return to the station, so he leaves Sophia in Sarah's care. The two walk side by side to the diner, where there's a storage room filled with unclaimed belongings. Sophia quickly picks out a pair of glasses that suits her, then begins browsing through the rest of the items. But when her eyes land on a small dancer figurine, she suddenly freezes. She almost reaches out to touch it, then forcibly stops herself. No one knows what she's planning next, but it's clear something is brewing beneath the surface. Elsewhere, the newly arrived policewoman completely breaks down after witnessing Jim's horrific death. She can no longer endure the suffocating despair of waiting to die. So she quietly heads to the clinic, determined to take a vehicle and force her way out of town. Christy, desperate to stop her, climbs into the passenger seat. But the officer doesn't hesitate. She slams her foot on the gas and speeds down the road. In her mind, if she drives fast enough, she can break free from this endless loop. The longtime residents, however, already know the truth. This is nothing more than a futile attempt. And sure enough, it doesn't take long before the ambulance completes a loop and returns right back to town. Boyd tries to stop it, but the vehicle doesn't slow down in the slightest. Christy is terrified in the passenger seat. She tries to talk the officer down, telling her that blind panic won't solve anything. But the woman is already consumed by the obsession to escape. She mocks Christy, calling her just as weak as everyone else, saying the people here have been trapped for far too long, worn down by despair and time until all their courage is gone. Before they realize it, the ambulance has circled the town yet again, and Boyd appears in their line of sight once more. This time, he's laid down a strip of spikes across the road. The officer is forced to slam on the brakes. With a harsh screech of metal, the ambulance finally comes to a stop, and her desperate attempt comes to an end. Boyd storms forward, furious, and cuffs her hands on the spot. If he hadn't intervened, there's no telling what kind of disaster she might have caused. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Julie and Randall are carrying out their time travel plan. It doesn't take long for them to reach the ruins. Julie remembers clearly this is where it happened last time. But before she goes through with it, she decides to run a test. She asks Randall to step through the stone archway first. He does exactly that, and nothing happens, confirming her suspicion. Whatever this is, it only affects her. Julie tells him to keep his eyes on her at all times, and the moment something feels off, he has to pull her back immediately. After laying out the rules, she slowly steps through the arch. In an instant, the world around her shifts. She's traveled again. In the darkness of the forest, the creatures move silently. From a distance, Julie sees a flipped RV with lights still on inside. And there, her father, Jim, is hiding within it. The next second, Boyd and the others burst into view. Julie realizes this is the very night her father was trapped in the forest months ago. She's about to rush forward to help him, but before she can act, a creature tackles her to the ground. She struggles desperately, fighting it off, while in the real world, her body begins convulsing violently. Remembering her instructions, Randall rushes in and drags her out of the ruins. In the blink of an eye, Julie is pulled back to reality. She's overwhelmed with emotion. She succeeded in going back, but even then, she still couldn't save her father. At the same time, Tabitha has already arrived at the church, preparing to say her final goodbye to her husband. A part of her wants to follow him, to leave this world behind as well. But she knows she can't. She's no longer living just for herself. No matter what, she has to raise their 2 children. But when she returns home, she's met with something even more unsettling. Julie is gone, and even Ethan, who was supposed to be asleep, has disappeared. Unbeknownst to her, Ethan has made his way back to the overturned RV where everything began. He quietly takes the walkie-talkie from the table and slips it into his backpack. As he steps outside, he suddenly sees someone sitting right in front of him, his father. The boy freezes for a moment, then rushes forward in disbelief. He had even planned to use the walkie-talkie to contact his unborn sibling, hoping the child could keep their father company in the afterlife. Jim's face is pale, his expression calm, but his eyes keep darting around as if he's wary of something unseen. He tells Ethan he can't stay, but he has an important task for him. Back when they first arrived in this town, Ethan once dreamed about a place called the Lake of Tears. Jim tells him that the lake is real, and no matter what happens, he has to find it. The moment he finishes speaking, his figure fades away. Just then, Tabitha finally arrives, frantic with worry. But when Ethan tells her what he saw, she dismisses it as nothing more than a child's imagination. That's everything for episode 2 of From Season 4. The show sticks to its usual formula, raising even more questions. The dancer figurine Sophia noticed will likely play a key role, and it feels very similar to the music box from the previous season. As for the Lake of Tears Jim mentioned, it's hard to tell whether it's truly crucial to the mystery, or simply something he said to give his son hope. That's it for today's recap. If you've got your own theories, feel free to share them. We'll pick this up again next time.